Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ambassador Robinson, I have the president's readout from his conversation with Xi Jinping on November 14th, and I'm sure you've probably seen this and been through it. And what struck me is that there is not one mention in here of the fentanyl problem that we've got with China. Do you know whether or not the president raised this with Xi Jinping when he had this conversation?
Thank you, Senator. I don't know if they were able to get to it during their conversation. I do know that, as you know, the relationship between the United States and China is complex. There are a lot of issues on the table. But there is no doubt that this administration and the Secretary are both keenly aware of the importance of this issue and have charged us at the State Department with reaching out to our international partners to work as closely as possible on this.
I think complex is as kind of way as you could say it regarding our relationship with China at the present time. But we understand from other people that state that you guys are getting the Heisman from them. They're just stiff-arming you and saying, well, you guys should quit using drugs, and that's the end of it. Is that your experience with what you're getting from the Chinese?
We have had very limited engagement with China on this issue in particular. I know our ambassador, Ambassador Burns in Beijing, has had some conversations at the ministerial level, but there is a lot more that we could do together, and we know good things happen when China takes responsibility for these issues like this. We saw it in 2019 when they scheduled fentanyl and the chemicals. It stopped almost completely coming directly from China to the United States.
Right. I think most people are aware of that. The difficulty, of course, is that that situation deteriorated dramatically and quickly, and we're back to where we were before, and China is not impressing us as doing anything on this issue anymore. Is that your impression?
My impression is that they could do that there are basic steps they could take that they're not taking right now that could help a lot. They could monitor and make more transparent the labeling of chemicals leaving the country. They could exchange more information with us, and they could follow the trail and make sure that the companies that are exporting these chemicals know who the chemicals are going to, particularly in Mexico, where we know the drug is being synthesized. They're not doing that now. They're not talking to us really about it, but they should. And if they did, we think that this would go a long way towards helping to get at the issue.
Yeah, well, that's an accurate description of what I've heard also. And I don't know what the path forward is. I guess that's you guys' job. But you need to come up with something to get their attention. And I don't know what it is, but it certainly isn't working right now. Administrator Milgram, first of all, let me say I want to associate myself with the remarks of the chairman regarding our impression of what Mexico is not doing and causing us no end of problem. And so you're appearing here today in your very clear-eyed description of what's happening and not happening. And putting the blame right where it belongs is greatly appreciated, and I think it'll help underscore for the American people what needs to be done. And I think the chairman has laid out very clearly that there does need to be something done differently, or there's going to have to be other action taken. One of the things that bothers me, and I always I hate to put it in these terms, but I cringe every time I hear somebody from the administration say, oh, well, the border's secure. I don't know. America does not believe that the border is secure with the thousands of people that are coming across. Do you agree that this catastrophe we have on the border is contributing to the problem of the drugs coming into the country?
Senator, thank you so much for that question. The DEA does not operate the border or the ports of entry.
I get that. That's not your fault.
Thank you. So we don't operate the border or the ports of entry, so I would defer questions to them. What I can tell you is that at DEA, we view our job as playing offense, as targeting the cartels worldwide to do everything we can to stop the fentanyl and the methamphetamine and other deadly drugs from even getting to that point. And we also, once the drugs have entered the United States, we work relentlessly to make sure our communities are safe and healthy by stopping drug-related violence and drug poisonings. We view DHS's role as they have the primary mission of playing defense, of stopping fentanyl from entering at the border. And so we know that that's a vital part of this conversation. Last year, we seized, at year's end, the final calculation was 57 million fake fentanyl pills and more than 13,000 pounds of fentanyl. That's the equivalent of 410 million potential deadly doses that we seized in the United States of America.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate that that isn't your primary obligation, but I think you should keep pressure on those that we know who that their primary obligation is to secure the border. I think that would be very helpful. My time's up, but let me ask one quick question about the social media aspects of this. Are you having any luck at all with the social media platforms? I understand that's secondary. You want to stop it from coming in first, but once it gets here, obviously, as you've indicated, social media platforms are a real scourge for distributing this stuff. Are you having any luck there at all?
Senator, thank you for the question, and I think it's a critical point for us to discuss today. We view social media right now as the superhighway of drugs. And if I could just take a moment, and it will seem like I'm going a little bit off social media, but I promise I'm coming right back. The question I get asked when I am out in the public more than any other is, why would these cartels kill their customers? And the answer today is that fentanyl is so addictive that the cartels are using it to drive addiction. And for them, if a user dies, it is the cost of doing business. We are in a very different position than we were 20 years ago before social media existed, where someone who might be selling narcotics had more of a personal relationship with the person who was buying. Today, the cartels understand that if someone dies from taking their deadly fentanyl, that there are 100 million other users on Snapchat that they can sell their drugs to. There are more than 150 million American users on Facebook and on Instagram that they can sell their drugs to. And so social media is truly the superhighway of drugs. And I welcome a visit from any of the members of this committee to DEA headquarters, and I can show you the faces of the American lives lost from fake pills purchased on Snapchat, from fake pills purchased on Facebook, from fake pills purchased on Instagram and TikTok and other sites. So the long answer coming to the short closing is that the social media sites are not doing nearly enough. And we would welcome the opportunity to work with this committee and others in Congress to make sure that the social media companies are held accountable and that they become fully transparent about what is happening and what they're doing.
Did I understand you right that half of the American people, 150 million people, or a third, 100 million, are fentanyl customers?
No, Senator, I'm sorry. They're customers of social media. What's happened in the decades since the internet and globalization is that there are a vast number of Americans who are on social media, and those transactions where the cartels and their traffickers are marketing and selling these fake prescription pills and other drugs all over social media, we see that on a daily basis. And what we see is that the cartels will just pivot to the next potential buyer on those social media platforms. And there are many Americans on those social media platforms.